Our lesson today is going to focus on solving inequalities with rational numbers. So we're going to incorporate more fractions and decimals into the inequalities that we work with. As some quick review, remember that an equation is a mathematical sentence that states that two expressions are equal to each other, which is why an equation has an equal sign. All right, but an inequality is a mathematical sentence formed by placing an inequality symbol in between the two expressions. Remember that there are four inequality symbols. There's less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Those are the four inequality symbols. The phrase preserves the inequality symbol means that the symbol stays the same. Okay, if you preserve something, you keep it the way that it is. But reverses the inequality symbol means that the symbol changes to the opposite. So if it was less than, we would switch it to a greater than. If it was greater than or equal to, we'd switch it to less than or equal to. All right. Remember, there are different cases when the symbol is preserved and when the symbol will be reversed. The inequality symbol is preserved anytime you add or subtract. Doesn't matter what kind of numbers you're working with. If you add or subtract, you preserve the symbol. As well as when you multiply or divide by a positive number. Multiplying and dividing by positive numbers preserves the inequality symbol as well. The inequality symbol will reverse only when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay, multiplying and dividing by negative numbers will reverse the inequality symbol. In our first inequality, we have 1/2 k minus 1 is less than or equal to -4. Notice that we have a fraction in this problem. Our process is going to be the same, though. We've got to isolate the variable term first and then get the value of one variable. So we're going to start by adding 1 to each side. The variable term is on the left, and there's the constant -1 there, which we want to remove. So we'll do that by adding 1 to each side. On the left, -1 plus 1 is 0, leaving you with 1/2 k. And then on the right side, -4 plus 1 is -3. And adding will preserve the inequality symbol. So this is going to say 1/2 k is less than or equal to -3. Now we've got to get the value of just k. Right now, k is being multiplied by the fraction 1/2. And so instead of dividing by the fraction 1/2, we're going to multiply by 1/2's reciprocal, which is 2 over 1. So I'm going to multiply the left by 2 over 1. That's the same as multiplying by 2, so that's what I'm going to do on the right, multiply by 2. Looking at the left, the 2 in the numerator and the denominator will simplify to 1s. So 1 over 1 times 1 over 1k is just our variable k. -3 times 2 on the right side is -6. And on both sides, we just multiplied by a positive number, which will preserve the symbol, so k is less than or equal to -6. So this is what we need to graph on the number line. So we're going to find -6, and we're going to have to use a closed circle since we're allowed to be equal to -6. So put our closed circle on -6. And now for the numbers that are less than that, we're going to shade the number line to the left. And we're going to bold the arrow in the left-hand direction as well. In example C, we have 6 plus 1 and 25/100ths n is less than or equal to 11. The variable term is on the left, and it's got the constant +6 with it. So to remove that, we're going to start by subtracting 6 on each side. On the left, 6 minus 6 is 0, leaving us with 1 and 25/100ths n. On the right, 11 minus 6 is 5. And subtracting will preserve the symbol. So 1 and 25/100ths n is less than or equal to 5. Now we've got to get the value of n. Right now it's being multiplied by 1 and 25/100ths, so we'll go ahead and divide by 1 and 25/100ths, and we need to do that on both sides. And on the left, 1 and 25/100ths n divided by 1 and 25/100ths is our 1n. On the right, 5 divided by 1 and 25 hundredths is equal to 4. And we were just dividing by a positive number, and that's going to preserve the symbol. So n is going to be less than or equal to 4. All right, so we find 4 on the number line. Since we're allowed to be equal to 4, we're going to need a closed circle. So closed circle on 4. And now for the values that are less than that, we're shading the number line to the left. And don't forget to bold the arrow on the left side as well. So any of these numbers that we've shaded would be a solution to our original inequality. In our next example, we have 3m minus 2 2/3 is less than 21 1/3. So this looks a little tougher, but it's really not that bad. Our variable term is on the left. It has the constant negative 2 2/3 with it, which we want to remove. So we're going to start by adding 2 2/3 on each side. So taking a look at the left, negative 2 2/3 plus 2 2/3 is 0. So 3m is the only thing on the left. On the right, if we do 21 1/3 plus 2 2/3, well, 1/3 plus 2/3 is 3/3, which is a whole. Okay, so the fractions add up to one whole. 21 plus 2 is 23. So 23 plus one whole is going to be 24. So that gives you a value of 24. And adding will always preserve the symbol, so 3m is less than 24. All right, so now this doesn't look bad at all. Let's get the value of m. Right now it's being multiplied by 3. That means we're going to have to divide by 3 on both sides. And so on the left, 3m divided by 3 is our 1m. 24 divided by 3 on the right is 8. And we divided by a positive number, which will preserve the symbols. So we have m is less than 8. So we find 8 on the number line. Since we can't be equal to 8, we need an open circle. And now we're going to shade to the left because it said less than 8. So shade all of the values to the left on the number line. And once again, bold the arrow on the left-hand direction. All of these numbers that we have shaded in could be a solution to the original inequality. In example E, we have negative 1 5/10 y plus 1 2/10 is greater than or equal to 11 7/10. So we're working strictly with decimals in this example. The variable term, negative 1.5 y, is on the left, but it has the constant 1 2/10 with it, which we want to remove. So we're going to start by subtracting 1 2/10 on both sides. On the left, 1 2/10 minus 1 2/10 is 0. So that means that negative 1 5/10 y is the only thing on the left. On the right, 11 7/10 minus 1 2/10 is 10 5/10. We just subtracted, which will preserve the symbol. So negative 1.5 y is greater than or equal to 10 1/2. Now we need to get the value of 1y. Right now it's being multiplied by negative 1 5/10. So we're going to go ahead and divide by negative 1 5/10 on both sides. On the left, negative 1.5 y divided by negative 1.5, a negative divided by a negative. This is going to be a positive 1y, which is what we want. On the right, 10.5 divided by negative 1.5, punch that into your calculator. That would give you negative 7. And we just divided by a negative number, which is going to reverse the inequality symbol. So y is going to be less than or equal to negative 7. So we find negative 7 on the number line. We can be equal to negative 7, so we're going to put a closed circle there. And then because it says less than or equal, we're going to shade the number line to the left and bold the arrow in the left-hand direction as well.